Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. You know, whenever I go golfing, I always take an extra pair of socks in case I get a hole in one. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at my top 50 World War II games of all time, 10 through number 1. We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so once again, welcome back to the list. As always, I ask you, I want to let you know these are not all war games. They're not all hex and counter war games. If that's what you like and that's all you like, maybe you'd be happier watching something else. Otherwise, stick around. We're going to have a lot of fun. Just please don't leave a nasty comment if I don't like the same games that you like. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to kick this off. I think a lot of people can kind of guess what's going to be on here if you know me, if you know the channel. Number 10 is Axis and Allies, Europe, 1940. I actually just played this, I think, late last year for the first time. I used to own the original first edition of Axis and Allies Europe, which I loved. Gave that to Zach, but I bought a copy of both Europe and Pacific 1940, but I never played them. Ended up selling them, and then just this year or last year, Renegade Game Studios sent me a review copy for Europe 1940, and it's fantastic. It's a great Europe theater level game. If you like Axis and Allies, like I like Axis and Allies, I think you'll really get a kick out of it. It's not just Europe; it also covers Africa and South America and whatnot. But it's the basic struggle of Germany trying to get into Russia, trying to disrupt the British, while the whole time the British and the Americans are trying to build up their forces for that assault and push into Western Europe. It is a great game. I really like the national objectives, kind of the mini little objectives you go for during the game. That's a lot of fun. So, Axis and Allies Europe, that is from Renegade Game Studios. That is my number 10. All right, my number 9 is another game that I just played recently. I think it was just earlier this year. This is Axis and Allies Guadalcanal. Now, Axis and Allies Guadalcanal came out originally, I want to say about 2008, 2009. Never played it. Never got around to playing it. Always wanted to, just never did. And then Renegade Game Studios re-released it. They sent me a copy, and I fell in love. This game is so good. It's got the Axis and Allies feel of dice rolling, units and whatnot, but you actually have the kind of dice box that you use in that. You pull the little slide out. So it's kind of a different combat system, but it's still very much got Axis and Allies DNA. I like it too because it's not very long. It seems like it's a much shorter Axis and Allies game than you usually play. I do like, though, too, there is a logistical element because you need to bring in kind of supplies to build up airfields because that's kind of a victory condition. You can also kind of deploy on the board at different places with various supply. So it's really a lot of fun. I really like Axis and Allies Guadalcanal quite a bit. So that is Axis and Allies Guadalcanal. That is number 9, and that is from Renegade Game Studios. My number 8 is a game that I started to play around 2010, and it was the game that kind of introduced me to Fantasy Flight games. This is Tide of Iron. Tide of Iron is a squad level game with miniatures, and in fact, you make your kind of little squad units and stuff by placing certain kinds of miniatures on these bases, and then you can put little tokens on them to maybe show if they're engineers or they're flamethrowers or whatnot. So it's a very interesting kind of system. It's got a big toy factor with the minis there, but then it's just got some good gameplay. It plays like a hex and counter game. You've got suppression and opportunity fire and all sorts of things like that. It's a wonderful, wonderful World War II tactical kind of squad level game that I enjoyed quite a bit. Haven't played it in a long time, but I've got everything for it. Everything that was ever published for that game, I've got it in a crate right over there, and super fun game. Anyway, that is Tide of Iron. That is my number 8, and that is from Fantasy Flight Games. My number 7 is a game, it kind of displaced Tide of Iron for me somewhat, but this is a game that came out a few years ago. I'm actually waiting for this second edition stuff to come through a Kickstarter, but this is Company of Heroes. Now, this again is another game that was based on a video game, but it's also got kind of a deterministic combat system, but it is very fun. It's a very good game, and you've got some great components. There's like village little three-dimensional stuff you can put out there, but it plays. It's very reminiscent of the video game because you get certain areas on the board and you can like increase your supply, and then that gives you other rewards and unlocks certain abilities there. So I really enjoy this game. Again, great table presence. It's a very three-dimensional game, looks beautiful, and it is tremendous fun. In fact, I like this game so much. Remember when I unboxed it, I thought this game looks great. It's probably not going to play very good. And not only did it look great, it plays amazing. So this is Company of Heroes. That is number 7, and that is from Bad Crow Games. My number 6 is a game that I came out last year. It's a campaign game. There's 15 games. I'm only 10 games into it. This is Undaunted Stalingrad from Osprey Games. My wife and I, we've been playing it, and we got to get back to it because we got to finish it. But it is fantastic. I love Undaunted Stalingrad. This is it takes the Undaunted system, of course, a deck building system that is also kind of a squad level system, but it adds so many bells and whistles, so many surprises. Each scenario kind of finds a way to ratchet up the tension and add something new and fun and interesting. And depending on the game state, it kind of balances itself out. Really a lot of fun. Like I say, we're 10 games into the 15 game scenario, so we've got to get back to it. My friend Zach, he and his daughter actually just here not too long ago finished the campaign, and they loved it as well. Undaunted Stalingrad is just so much fun in the way that it evolves the Undaunted system. Really, really a fun game. Another Dave Thompson, Trevor Benjamin game here, and fantastic. This is Undaunted Stalingrad. That is my number 6. That is from Osprey Games. My number 5 is a game that the regular game I've had for years. I played it, I enjoyed it, and it probably would be on this list, but it would probably be much, much higher. But I recently played this game with an expansion and kind of a different game mode that just made my jaw drop. I loved it so much. This is Memoir 44 Overlord. Essentially, this is the version of Memoir 44 where you get up to 8 players, and I played the 8-player game, where you have 3 of them are the field commanders, and then you have 2 generals, and the commanders in chief, whatever they are. And the commanders in chief hand the field generals cards, and then they can act on the cards. So you need kind of 2 copies of the game to play. I think you can play it with the just the Overlord one, but then it's just kind of cardboard tokens and stuff. If you want the full experience, I think you need to buy 2 copies of the game, which is what I did. But you're playing this game, and communication is key. It's a team game, so team games are always fun. But as the commander, you desperately want to advance on one flank, but you just don't have the cards for it. It is a hoot. We had so much fun. I actually played it with my students, and Ray was there, and he played with us too. And we all just had a blast. My World War II students, and great game. Fairly abstract. It's a command and colors game. I love the base game, but the Overlord just is outstanding. If you ever get a chance, I highly recommend you play the Overlord version of Memoir 44. So that is Memoir 44 Overlord, and that is from Days of Wonder. But number 4, this is another case of a game that I played the original game, and it would be on the list, but it would probably be much higher, except that with an expansion, there's a different game mode you can play with, and it's my favorite way to play it. This is Undaunted Normandy with the reinforcements pack, the Undaunted Reinforcements, because here you can play 4-player. The 4-player game of Undaunted Normandy for me is my favorite way to play because again, it's a team game, and you're going back and forth, and depending on who plays, the was it the platoon sergeant card or whatever, you flip, the who goes first back and forth. But it is great. It is so much fun. I love Undaunted Normandy, just regular Undaunted. But when you add this 4-player aspect to it, where one of you takes, one of the squads, one of you takes another squad, or combinations thereof, or one of you has the vehicles, it just adds this wonderful element to the game that I already love so much. Highly recommend you play. Just if you don't have Undaunted Normandy, you need to get it. It's that good. It is so good, and it's a game that if you're a war gamer, you're like if you're a war gamer, you'll like it. If you're not a war gamer, you'll still like it. I think it's one of these games that can kind of cross genres here, but the way to play it is with the reinforcements pack and the 4-player game. I absolutely love that game mode. It's the best way to play it. So that is Undaunted Normandy 4-player. That is from Osprey Games. That is my number 4. My number 3 is, again, I've already mentioned a few games in this family. Axis and Allies Pacific 1940. Again, everything I've said about Axis and Allies, I say again. But I do like the naval battles. I do like the emphasis on the navies here. In fact, I remember when I played the original Axis and Allies back in the day, that was our favorite part, was the big American-Japanese naval battle. And what I like here is you get so much of that, and it's a major focus of the game here, that comes into pretty sharp focus pretty strongly in the game, and often pretty early in the game too. So I really enjoy Axis and Allies Pacific 1940 for that reason. So I had the original version, original Axis and Allies 1940, which I loved quite a bit. Ended up giving it to Zach. I got the second edition, but I never played it. I ended up selling it, and so I finally played it here not too long ago when Renegade sent me this copy here. It's just outstanding. Every time I play this game, I got a big old grin on my face. Again, you can play multiplayer. For me, the Axis and Allies games, I think I'd rather play just 2-player. I think the downtime is a little more than I like when you play multiplayer. So I think they're great 2-player games. But anyway, this is Axis and Allies Pacific 1940. That is from Renegade Game Studios. My number 2, once again, you guessed it, another Axis and Allies title. This is Axis and Allies Anniversary. This is one that I bought in 2008, 2009 when it first came out. I bought it like right before it disappeared from stores, and it was not inexpensive. But I bought it, and I was so glad I did. I fell in love with it. I thought I liked because you got the 1941 setup, you got the 1942 setup. You've got a lot of space and room for maneuver in the Soviet Union, which made it a much greater challenge for the Germans and gave the Russians a little more breathing room. I really, really like the map, and it's 3 giant boards, and I really like the gameplay here. I just thought it was a lot of fun. I ended up giving this one away. I can't remember why I gave that first one away, but when I was in Texas, I think it was Avalon Hill re-released it, and they sent me the re-release, and I played it again, fell in love with it again, and I ended up giving it away again. I gave it away because I started playing another game that kind of I thought killed it for me. But then I kind of regretted that I gave it away. And then just recently, Renegade Game Studios reprinted it. I played it again just about a week or so ago, and again I fell in love with that game again. It is, to me, the definitive, the ultimate Axis and Allies game. And just as an aside, I'm sure a lot of you have heard this story if you've watched the channel, but it really was Axis and Allies. When I was about 12 years old, I started playing Axis and Allies. That was the game that really got me thinking about World War II and history and military history, and that kind of set me on my career path. Now I have a PhD in military history, and I think I can really trace that back to Axis and Allies, a board game. So that's pretty cool. And to me, again, this is the definitive version. Now, the original Axis and Allies that I played when I was a kid, I loved it, but it's dated. It's past its prime. These are newer and better editions have come out since. And as I say, Anniversary is my favorite. So that's Axis and Allies Anniversary Edition. That is from Renegade Game Studios. That's my number 2. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my number 1 World War II game of all time. I'm sure everybody knows this because not only is this my number 1 World War II game of all time, this is my number 1 board game of all time. I play a lot of different kinds of board games, and it's my favorite, hands down. This is War Room from Nightingale Games. Now, War Room was designed by Larry Harris, who designed the Axis and Allies games. And to me, it kind of feels like Axis and Allies on steroids. But where I would rather play Axis and Allies as a 2-player, I really like the full 6-player game of War Room because it's largely simultaneous. You can play War Room. Like I say, you all write your orders. It's kind of like diplomacy. You all write your orders at the same time. You reveal them, and then who's ever bid the most for oil gets initiative, so they get to like move their stuff first. But everybody's paying attention as everything's moving, and then you set up all the battles, and then you resolve all the battles. And the additions I've got, you've got kind of 2 boards, so you can have kind of two different people resolving battles at the same time. So it's really a great system. I love the elements of the hidden orders and the diplomacy aspect of the game, the board game diplomacy, where you write down stuff and reveal them. I think that is just fantastic. You've got, instead of figures, you've actually got kind of little stacks of plastic stacks that represent the units, which is fun, and they're color coded. The only real complaint I have about the game is aircraft carriers aren't quite as powerful as they probably should be. There should have been a way to beef up the aircraft carriers. Other than that, everything about this game is tremendous. I actually haven't played this game now in maybe nearly 2 years, and that's too long. It's a big game. It's an event game. It's an 8-hour game, 6 to 8 hour game conservatively. So you got to really plan it, and you got to have a lot of space. It's a huge table hog. But I love War Room. It is fantastic. And Nightingale Games is coming out with their game on the Napoleonic Wars, Imperial Borders. I think they did their Kickstarter. Super excited to see that game and how that game plays out as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is my #1 game of all time. That's War Room from Nightingale Games. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is my top 50 games, World War II games of all time. The lists change over time as I play more games and I consider more games and I revisit more games. But I appreciate you watching this and participating in your comments. And please let me know, what do you think? Do you like these games? Do you not like these games? What games would you put on the list in the place of these? I'd be very eager to know. Just please keep your comments civil. Also, too, I'd ask you to please subscribe to this channel, give a thumb to this video, give a thumb to us on Board Game Geek. Please follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, all these good places. And I would ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history and books on history and fun things like that. It would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to that channel as well. And also, too, if you really do like the kind of content we bring to you here on The Discriminating Gamer, I would humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. You know, ladies and gentlemen, my wife and I laugh at how competitive we are. But I laugh more. Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I've been dying. Once a year I wind up in the band. God knows that I love to fight, but I don't ever win. It's a fine line to damnation, but God let me in.
Do it! Make it so.
It's right. Soviet Union.